Hi, I'm Jay Myers, the CEO of Next Generation Manufacturing Canada. Welcome to another one of our project podcasts. And today I'm really pleased to be able to introduce Luna Yu, who is the CEO of Genecis Bioindustries. So, Luna, thanks very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Really our pleasure to be here.
So, Luna, before we start talking about the project, tell me a little bit about Genesis and maybe a little bit about your background as well.
Sure. So what we do here at Genesis Bioindustries is that we make compostable plastics from food waste. So we're a biotechnology startup based in Toronto, Canada, founded in 2017, and really got a great team of young engineers and scientists looking to change the world. My personal background is I studied bachelor's and master's of science at the University of Toronto, and actually worked out of the laboratory at the U of T labs right when we started Genesis. And here we are today. We're roughly 34 employees going strong and going from pilot to industrial demonstration with the help of NGen.
Oh, that's super. So, you're kind of attacking a pretty big problem here, the development of alternative materials other than plastics. And why did you focus on that particular challenge? And tell us a little bit about how Genesis approaches the whole circular economy, circular manufacturing of materials around plastics.
Absolutely. So I think our story really started back in 2017 when we really wanted to make a difference in the world by solving two major problems. The first one is food waste, and second one, as you mentioned, is plastics, right? Every single year, there's more than 3 trillion pounds of food waste that goes directly to waste. And when they're left to rot away in landfills, they produce methane emissions equivalent to that of all cars in the world, which is
Wow.
massive, right? Now, on the other hand, the pollution that's caused by plastics is equally as massive. I'm sure we've all read on the news how plastics are really polluting our oceans as well as environments. But what I think most people don't know is that through the food chain, especially the human food chain, humans directly consumes a credit card worth of plastics every single week. And that's really crazy to think about because once it gets into your body, it can cause all sorts of havoc, both short term as well as long term. So we really wanted to make sure that we can find a way to essentially upcycle that food waste into something that's a lot more healthier and a lot more friendly for the environment in the form of compostable plastics.
That's a that's a lot of food that's going to waste. Any idea about in terms of the whole value chain, the whole from farm to fork, what percentage of that is going into waste of some sort?
Absolutely. So, unfortunately, to say, roughly 40% of all food produced in the world today goes directly to waste, and that's captured all across the landscape where they're harvested, as well as the processing, as well as the end post-consumer food waste altogether.
Okay. So, how important is it as well to be connected to I don't want to say recycler, but someone who is looking after managing all of this food waste for a company like Genesis?
Oh, it's super important. As a matter of fact, most biotech companies actually relocate to wherever their feedstock is located. So if we were using sugars as our feedstock, we would be likely located in Brazil today where there's huge amounts of sugar cane, for example,
Right.
right? And for us, through the NGen project, we were able to get basically one of our key partners who collects a huge amount of organic waste so that we don't have to worry about it. Plus, they got a lot of the existing infrastructure, so we can utilize a lot of their equipment, et cetera, to be able to set up a lot more quickly.
So tell me a little bit about the project itself. What's the core objective of what you're doing?
Great question. So, with this engine project that we're doing with Stormfisher, which is the biogas plant that we are collaborating with, it really hallmarks a radically new method of achieving rapid and inexpensive scale up. So, traditionally, for any biotech company to produce a lot of product, we essentially need to build these massive plants that cost hundreds of millions of dollars and many years to set up, right? And what NGen is really enabling to do here instead is to piggyback our technology onto the existing infrastructure of these large fermentation plants, specifically the biogas plants like Stormfisher. And doing this will allow us to scale 5 times faster, bypassing a lot of the permitting issues, a lot of the just
Mm.
setting up, as well as within a fraction of the cost as they already have a lot of the equipment that we need.
So it sounds like a nice match, but tell me a little bit about some of the obstacles along the way. You mentioned some permitting issues. How easy is it to develop this or scale up this new process then with and you know great to have a partner who can help you do it, but I imagine it's not an easy process to be able to scale up.
Oh, not at all, for sure. And to give you an example on the permitting side, so we've spoken to several other biotech companies, even biogas plants, who try to set up plants from scratch, right? And typically in Canada, especially, it can take anywhere between 3 to 5 years to even get a permit approved to be able to set up a plant in any standalone greenfield location, right? Whereas for us, through the Stormfisher project, all we have to do is essentially file for an amendment under existing ECA, the environmental permit, right, to include us on site, and that only takes a couple of months to do. So we're essentially doing that 10x faster here, specifically with this project, right? Now, aside from that, just in the process of building our company, we've also had a lot of interesting challenges too. To give you an example, when we first started our company back in 2017, we were working out of the U of T labs, right, which we were super grateful to have. However, to get bioreactors to run with our bacteria inside them and produce the bioplastics, that costs a lot of money. Each bioreactor can cost up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's not something that we could have afforded back then, right? And what we do instead was essentially we basically made these DIY rice cookers that we retrofitted into bioreactors with all these motors and sensors, etc., so that we were essentially running our bacteria and running our first prototypes out of these rice cooker reactors just to get by. And these are just some of the challenges that we had to overcome over through the years.
And so you're a growing organization, and with a project with Stormfisher, we'll be accelerating that growth path. You know, when we speak to young people, especially in the context of our Careers of the Future campaign, we're struck by how much young people want to make a difference, and clearly by converting food waste into bioplastics, that's one area where they can clearly make a difference. But how easy have you found it in attracting the people with the types of skills that you require today, and looking to the future and your future growth path, is what sort of a challenge is that today as well?
That's a really good question. So, originally we thought it was going to be quite hard to find the talents that we need, right? But, I think we're super fortunate to be located in basically the heart of GTA, where we're surrounded by a lot of great schools and universities that has the right skill sets that we need. So, for example, University of Waterloo, great automation as well as metabolic engineering programs. University of Toronto, metabolic engineering as well as biotechnology. And over the years, we've actually found that we've been able to get all the talents that we needed within sort of this Ontario GTA area. And this year we're also starting to see a lot of candidates applying to our positions from the States as well as from Europe, who are really looking to join a company that's making a real difference and also making a plastic that is truly compostable. So I think we've been pretty lucky in that sense, but we're always on the lookout for better talent, 100%.
Exactly. So, Linda, what's next for Genecis? Your project is nearing completion. You're going to be at much larger scale production capacity. Then what do the next couple of years have in terms of your growth path?
Absolutely. So that's the most exciting thing to really plan about and also work towards. So I think we're at a really interesting stage where we're able to now, just like you said, get a lot more tonnage of our material through the NGen collaboration. So right now what we're doing is essentially working with our existing business to business partners. These are clients who are in the CPG space, premium food packaging, biomedical, etc., who essentially we have engaged with in the last 2 years or so to essentially bring forth the next generation of sustainable packaging / sustainable products with them, right? But at the same time, what we're also looking at doing right now is actually utilizing the additional volumes to create our own direct-to-consumer brands with compostable packaging on its own. So that's something that we're super excited about and are also currently road mapping. And by next year, we hope to be able to launch products both with our clients as well as with our D2C brand.
So technical issue, and it reflects how little I know about the technical aspects of the chemistry behind bioplastics. But are there particular requirements from it on the bioplastic side that that converting food waste into bioplastics um, can provide a better packaging material, or are there some challenges there? Because I know when we're looking at medical devices or food itself, how important the packaging is just to keep things fresh. Are there particular challenges when you're dealing with food waste and developing bioplastics that you need to pay attention to?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I think fortunately for us, because we're not using a chemical conversion where we're essentially transforming the particles of one into the others directly, we're going through a biological conversion where the food waste is actually no different than the sugars that you feed to bacteria to make PHAs. So none of the food waste residue, as you could call it, will actually get into the end product. It's a very pure PHA that we have. And even with the biomedical partners that we have, they've actually tested the purity of our PHAs and found that it's really, really on par and actually surpasses the threshold in terms of what they need, right? So on the sort of conversion side, I think it's basically a straight conversion as if we were to use sugar feedstocks. Now, the unique advantage that we have with using food waste is that we can really lower down the cost of production, especially at a larger scale, once we reach economies of scale. The reason being is because all PHAs today, the polyhydroxyalkanoids, which is the plastic that we make, they're all made by feeding massive amounts of sugars to PHA bacteria, which then produces the PHAs, right? And that's super expensive. Just the feedstock acquisition alone can make up roughly 40 to 60% of the overall cost of production, which
Mm.
makes PHAs actually almost cost prohibitive to some applications, right? And with us using essentially a zero cost feedstock, which is food waste, we can dramatically lower down the cost of PHAs and make it a lot more affordable to the masses, especially in the future.
Which is important for any company that is looking at large scale packaging of food products themselves, or anything else where there's a specialized type of packaging that's required.
Exactly.
Luna, thanks very much for joining. If people want more information, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, the best way is to follow us on Twitter at G Bioindustries, as well as look us up on LinkedIn, Genecis Bioindustries Inc.
Super. Well, we look forward to continuing to work together and looking at how we can continue to help commercialize this new exciting bioplastic. There. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.